Thanks for checking in with episode 21 of Working on It, a journal of thoughts on the photographs I've taken. In this episode, I'm reviewing some street photographs taken in the early days of my photographic walkabouts. The images will be of familiar spaces and places throughout New York City. My earliest memories of photographing on the streets of the city began in the late 1970s in my neighborhood of Red Hook, Brooklyn. By that time, I had brought my first 35mm camera from a good friend. I don't quite remember what I paid for it, but guess it had to be about $75 with the lens. New York was recovering from its close call with bankruptcy of the 70s, and somehow I was able to buy this much-wanted camera. Regrettably, many of my negatives from that period didn't survive to today. With that, the following are various images from a decade later, during the time of my fine art photography studies at Pratt Institute. By this time, the New York City street photography aesthetic had been well established. Not many people were aware of street photography's existence. News traveled much slower then. Williamsburg, Brooklyn. For me, these were the years of experimentation with differing films and film types. Color negative film, color reversal film, slow speeds, medium speeds, and various name brands. Later on, I'd go on to experiment in the black and white film universe. Williamsburg, Brooklyn. The years of graffiti-riddled trains would later turn out famed subway graffiti taggers showing their tags in museums and galleries. But wherever you needed to go, the subway could get you there, if not close by. Long Island City, Queens. Off the beaten path places were really off the beaten path, until they weren't anymore. I began going places I had never thought about prior, realizing that there would be something new to explore and photograph. New to me, not necessarily newly made. Corona, Queens. There was so much to see and explore throughout the cracks and crevices of the city. Corona, Queens. Looking at possibilities with an environmental abstract perspective. Jersey City, Bergen-Lafayette, New Jersey. Subways are a homogenization of everything good and bad about the things that happen above ground. Greenwich Village, Manhattan. Challenging the mind to not think about what not to photograph, but to work at what can be photographed while it's happening in front of you, knowing that you'll have time to think about it later. Times Square, Manhattan. Letting the story play out in front of you. No need to rush. The story's been playing itself out before you even got there. Prospect Park, Brooklyn. Walking upon a delicate moment, a Zen moment perhaps. Reeves Beach, Queens. Looking at relationships of people who are not necessarily together. Rockefeller Center, Manhattan. Braving those moments of surprise when you've been found out. Letting the moment be what it's going to be. Mulberry Street, Manhattan. Seeking and acknowledging the ironies of life in all its dimensions. Mulberry Street, Manhattan. Understanding that the photographer does not dictate the outcome of the street photograph, just presents a moment of time during a life. Mulberry Street, Manhattan. Going to the parades and festivals of the city, there's bound to be something or someone that makes these photo walkabouts worthwhile. Fifth Avenue, Manhattan. making observations about the human condition, body posture, and the varying emotions associated with them. 5th Avenue, 34th Street, Manhattan. Presenting visual relationships, confirming that we're much closer to being exactly the same versus any minute level of differences we have as humans. 5th Avenue, 34th Street, Manhattan. Creating visual layering, provide the viewer with some details that are apparent and some that are subtle. 5th Avenue, 34th Street, Manhattan. Go where there are people. Be a people watcher with a camera. Rockefeller Center, Manhattan. An environmental self-portrait. It's quiet places like this I'd go to. Red Hook Waterfront, Brooklyn. Here's an insight. I feared going back in time and showing these photographs in the way I just did. They're from a much younger version of myself. During the production of this episode, I had moments of doubt as to whether it's productive for me to even show these images. I've always self-acknowledged as a street photographer. Times have changed. Social media has transformed the street photography genre into a new crowdsourced dynamic. To hell with it. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. Better to show them with all their wrinkles than to leave them in the darkness of a photo album or hard drive. Thanks for checking in with today's video podcast. I hope you've enjoyed learning about the photographs you just saw. Continue the conversation with me through my website, on Instagram or YouTube. I welcome your questions or comments. Click on the subscribe button and the notification bell when you get to the YouTube channel so you're notified when the next Working on It video podcast is available. I'll see you on Instagram with daily photo updates. Until then.